Hello, welcome, please come in. It's time for a bonus video, and per the vote of my patrons and YouTube channel members, the video will be this: beating Final Fantasy X-2 with only the trainer dress sphere, which is an interesting class. I'm sure I've used it before in casual runs, but the dress sphere seems kind of unimpressive. And the internet agrees that trainer is one of the worst classes in the entire game, so let's see if that holds true. Intro done, first up is to run down to the engine room and steal some shiny items. Trainer does have healing options, but I'm not sure how well those will work or scale. Next, modify my save file to have enough copies of the trainer dress sphere to adequately use garment grids. I think the biggest thing for each character to learn right out the gate is the level 2 pet ability. This will decrease the charge time for all their skills, which should be pretty useful. Trainer is an interesting class because each character has a different pet and therefore has access to a very different set of active abilities. And it's time to demonstrate that in the first boss-adjacent fight against Leblanc & Co. And first good news is Riku starts out with access to Mugger and Sneaky, which is just Steel Gil and Steel Item in a different font. This means I'll have access to Steel much earlier than most dress spheres get access to Mug in Chapter 3. Yuna gets elemental attacks, which might be useful against enemies weak to elements and are otherwise not super useful. They can apply status effects, but most bosses are immune to statuses, and most enemies die too fast for them to be worthwhile. Last is Pain, who takes on a support role with her HP Flurry, which heals the entire party. The healing is pretty nice, at least for now. We'll have to see how well it scales. The big problem I can see right out the gate is the MP cost of these abilities. It's pretty high. Normally you can't get Trainer until Chapter 3, so that does make sense, but it could still be an issue, especially while exploring. Later problems. Anyway, run around the Gagazette ruins, beating up random enemies, finding random accessories, and getting interrupted. Reaching the top of the ruins, I can grab a muscle belt that I will give to Yuna. Her trainer has the highest base strength and the elemental attack, so she will be my damage dealer. Into the next boss fight against Boris, who is weak to every element. And Kogoro Blaze deals 200 damage? Okay, that's actually not bad. And for some reason, most of the elemental attacks only cost 4 MP, which is very cheap. And with that damage, Boris does not last very long. Not that it really ever does. Okay, Chapter 1 is now properly started. Time to look through the walkthrough and determine if any of the items in the non-story sections are actually worth grabbing. No for the first few areas, but I should pop down to Mihen High Road just to get some early experience in AP to start learning abilities. And no, there isn't really anything I'm that interested in grabbing, so it's down to Besaid to learn that Lulu is pregnant and Waka is being very normal about it. Then run all the way to the beach, collecting codes to open a door. I don't remember where the 4th code is, because I never remember where the 4th code is, so it's time to start guessing. Okay, not a bad number of attempts. Into the sealed cave, and it's now boss time. The flame dragon is very durable, certainly more durable than I'd prefer, and does not have any elemental weaknesses I can currently exploit, so I'll need to mostly rely on basic attacks. Riku also needs to spend a few attempts stealing Gil and items, because those should be useful. And while the flame dragon has decent damage, HP Flurry is healing almost max HP to the entire party with every use, which is interesting. It seems to be scaling pretty well, actually. Maybe healing won't be a problem in this run. Wouldn't that be exciting? Anyway, Flame Dragon dies pretty easily. It's a fairly easy boss, and trainers are pretty versatile, for now at least. Oh, I should watch the Dress Sphere tutorial to get me the Vanguard Garment Grid. This boosts strength and magic on each character. I'm not actually sure which is used for a lot of these abilities, so both is good. Down in Kilika, I can open chests to get some nice items and Gil. Then let's head down to Mushroom Rock Road to get some good experience and more items. None of this is really essential, but the levels will be useful, and any MP restoring items are going to be essential with how expensive trainer abilities are. I've learned level 2 pet. Let's have Yuna start learning more elements, Pain grab haste and heal, and Riku, let's see how useful HP Stroll is. It's probably not very, but we'll see. Alright, down to Zanarkand then. Here, chat with Isaru, then into Zanarkand proper, where the enemies are pretty easy to just power through. Okay, Riku has learned HP Stroll. Let's see how much that... Oh, that heals fairly quickly. Huh, I wonder if MP Stroll heals as fast. We'll definitely find out. Oh, it seems to heal the same amount, which is better because MP values are way lower. Okay, time to prioritize HP and MP Stroll on everyone. It obviously won't do anything in long boss fights, but for random encounters around the map, that's incredible. Hi Isaru, please shut up, we're going on ahead. Oh, I don't know why I thought there was a save point before this boss. Well, good thing I still have most of my MP. The Guardian Beast can be a pretty scary fight. It hits fairly hard, attacks fairly quickly, and has an all-target attack for the latter half of the fight. So, to start, Riku needs to do her stealing while Yuna spams Kogoro Blaze. I don't actually think that deals more damage than a basic attack, but there's no harm in it. Once Riku finishes stealing, she can cheer to boost Yuna's defense and strength. And while that's happening, Pain can use HP Flurry to keep the party in mostly tip-top shape. Guardian Beast does attack quickly, so sometimes a potion is more appropriate, but still. Okay, that was also pretty easy. For being one of the worst stress spheres in the game, Trainer is doing pretty, oh, the game crashed. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but suffice to say, 10.2 is not super stable on PC, and seems to crash more often every single time I play it. After this playthrough, I did do some digging to find potential ways to make the game more stable, which will hopefully help in the future, but for this run it crashed at least 10 times, and fights had to be redone. When I redo fights, I just turn on God mode to maximize HP and MP every turn to win the fight very quickly. I do also use any valuable items again, just to make sure those are still expended as they should have been. There we go, no crash this time, hooray! Anyway, now it's down to Kilika. The random encounters here are easy to bully, then give the password to varying batches of soldiers for free items, and it's already time for the next boss, the YSLS-0. This boss can be very scary and is normally a big wake-up call for underpowered characters or dress spheres. It hits very hard, it can deal percentage damage and stagger characters. Trainers mostly handle it just fine though. Pain is healing a lot of HP every turn. Yuna is dealing okay damage. The only real problem is that HP Flurry is still pretty MP expensive. I could use an ether, but I think I'll just switch to potions to heal and hope that... oh, that's it. The fight is over, and that was pretty easy. Trainer may be better than most people think. Ooh, the green screen of doom, we love it. Now that we're in Chapter 2, it's back to the engine room to steal more items for my personal supply, then push a bunch of musicians into an elevator, and it's time to decide who to give the sphere to. And this time, I'll go with New Yevon, because why not? But oh no, Leblanc stole it, so the next big job is going to be sneaking into Leblanc HQ. But first, I need to look over the walkthrough to see where, and if, there are any items to pick up. Kilika has a Turbo Ether and a Mana Tablet, then Mushroom Rock has a bunch of Youth League fights that are really easy but give decent experience. These also culminate in a fight against Elma. Not that there is anything to really talk about in this fight. Elma can be a problem with some dress spheres, but trainers deal okay damage and have consistent healing, so it's really just a convenient way to get some experience. Okay, next is down to the Calm Lands. I'm only here to start the marriage quest, but I won't do anything with that until Chapter 5. I do need to start it now, though. And next it's down to Xanarkin. In addition to all the items around here, it's time to play Monkey Matchmaker, because the reward here is pretty great. Soul of Tamasa. Wait, this isn't what I thought it was. I thought this halved MP costs. It doubles MP cost and strengthens the spells. And no, it doesn't work with pet abilities, so this was a giant waste of my time. Alright, let's do LeBlanc stuff. First, we head down to Jose Temple, wait in the queue, then get permission to dig at Deaconell, out onto the Jose High Road, and we get to fight a bunch of Youth League idiots and LeBlanc goons. Good news, everyone in the party has HP and MP Stroll, which means MP is no longer an issue that exists. This leads to another boss fight against Ormi and Logos. First up, take out the Femgoon while Riku steals. One thing I am noticing is my damage doesn't appear to be improving very much. Yuna can target elemental weaknesses, and Riku and Pain can inflict status effects, but all of these abilities deal the same damage as a basic attack, which could be a problem. Oh well, it's enough to take out Ormi and Logos. Next up is Beaconell, where the Oasis is the venue for the next fight against just Logos and some goons. This fight is basically the same as the fight in Jose, except even easier, because no Ormi to deal with. Not that either of these idiots are that difficult. 2 uniforms obtained, 1 to go, and that is on Mount Gagazet. And after so many runs, I finally remembered to talk to Kamari before running around the mountain like an idiot. Progress, I think. Did I remember to do that last time? Maybe? Anyway, here I fight just Ormi. He doesn't even have any goons, so he dies very quickly. And with all 3 uniforms acquired, it's down to Guado Salon to enter Leblanc's headquarters. First fight here is against Ormi and some goons. If left alone, Ormi will use Huggles, which deals heavy damage to one target, so I do need to leave 1 goon alive while I take out Ormi. Once done, the fight ends. I did really badly at the massage minigame, so I get the heady perfume, which is honestly fine. And another boss fight against Ormi and Logos. And yeah, my damage is really low. I have a lot of healing, and stealing is always nice, but I sure wish Trainer had a deal big damage attack. Oh, Yuna got petrified and broken. I forgot that was a mechanic in this game. That means she cannot be revived, and Pain and Riku must power through alone, which is pretty easy actually, because this is not actually that difficult of a fight. Okay, more exploring, more random fights, time for the true boss of this dungeon, Leblanc & Co. And this fight can actually be a little bit tricky. Despite being very weak individually, having 3 separate enemies attacking and inflicting statuses can be very spicy. First on the list to take out is Logos. He's fairly frail and can inflict some very dangerous status effects. Rather than spending a ton of time healing, Riku is going to throw consumables I've accrued. These don't deal a ton of damage, but they do deal damage. Meanwhile, Yuna attacks and Pain stands by to use HP Flurry as needed. Okay, logo's down, pretty easy. Orme still has access to Huggles if left alone, so he is target number 2. I might as well continue to use consumables. They deal pretty good damage and they won't scale in any meaningful way, so might as well use them now. Orme goes down, and then it's just Leblanc, and she really doesn't have anything scary by herself. So, that's Leblanc and Co. down. Huh, they didn't give me a charm bangle to turn off random encounters. That's unfortunate. Can I get another one of those somewhere? Oh, I can steal one from Barreleye. That's soon enough, I'll just wait until then, because the next area is Bevelle. Jump on a thing to open a wall, change the course of elevators, descend into the depths, which doesn't really make that much sense. Oh well, more fights, more treasures, which we love, and then to the big rotating platform area, which everyone hates, because it sucks. And requires gradually rotating platforms to make a path down to the next area. But every stupid thing you have to do also triggers a fight against an enemy, and ultimately leads to a boss fight against the Precept Guard. And this boss is weak to Holy, and while it costs a lot of MP, Yuna can actually deal Holy damage. And Holy Kogoro is no joke. Precept's Guard does have some scary attacks, but never gets a chance to use any of them, because I deal way too much damage for this fight to be even slightly threatening. Which is good, because now it's time to unlock the Ribbon Chest, which requires rotating even more platforms! And this is where I discover the comical joy that is Carrier Flurry. Goodbye, little robots, you don't need to be here anymore. And then I have to fight 3 more Precept Guards, so it's a good thing that this takes so much holy damage. But oh no, that's not the end of this nonsense, because after fighting a bunch of Precept Guards, I need to then fight a bunch of Georapellas. These have more HP, but are in fact still weak to Holy, so I can deal plenty of damage to bring them down without an issue. And HP MP Stroll means I don't even need to leave to heal at any point. And there, finally, all the platforms are in place and I can grab a ribbon. Status immunity on one character. I mean, immunity to most statuses on one character. I can finally move on. And yeah, Carrier Flurry is still the funniest ability, way better than I expected. Okay, boss time again. First priority is robbing him to get the Charm Bangle. I need to be able to turn off random encounters. Then robbing him of money, because Gil is useful. Then just attack. My damage isn't super great, but I can at least inflict poison. Oh, Barreleye can deal MP damage. That is not ideal. That's how I heal myself. Yeah, I think I need to use an Ether. Barreleye just attacks too fast for me to not heal the way I need to. Hey bud, can you stop draining all of Pain's MP for a second? Or just die, that also works, I guess. Okay, no more random encounters for me. Now it's time for the Bahamut fight. It is interesting that 10-2 takes the scariest main story Aeon from the first game and makes him such a chump. Seriously, Bahamut in this game is so weak. He does have a lot of health. In fact, this will be the first fight in which I dress change in combat for the strength buff from my garment grid. But that's not because I'm in danger, it's because I'm bored. There we go, Bahamut down, and there is a crisis in Spira because all the Aeons are joining in on the fun. First destination is the engine room to steal more fun items, and as usual, let's grab some random stuff. First is back to Leblanc's HQ to grab the Tetraband, then down to Besaid because I actually don't care about any of the rest of this. Hi again, Lulu. Now it's into the temple to face off against the next Dark Aeon, Valefor. Sadly, Valefor doesn't have any elemental weaknesses, which is a bummer. It can also deal MP damage, which is even more of a bummer. Let's start by throwing out a Lunar Curtain for Shell. This should help mitigate the damage from Valefor's strongest attacks, then just spam basic attacks. Valefor is immune to my status effects, and with no elemental weaknesses, there is no reason to do anything else. Pain still needs to heal pretty frequently, which is made a little more difficult by Shell, reducing the healing from HP Flurry, but the trade-off is worth it, and HP Flurry still offers pretty good healing. I should probably use an Ether so Pain can still heal. Oh, well, that Ether was in fact a waste. I have a lot, so it shouldn't end up mattering, but it's still annoying. Okay, down to Kilika, run around the forest, then up into the trees, and into the temple. There are a surprising number of required fights in here. Fortunately, they are all against these devil idiots, which are vulnerable to Carrier Flurry and weak to holy damage. And again, MP Stroll means I can use as much MP as I want in a fight. It will come back very quickly. Then it's another Dark Aeon fight, and Ifrit is way easier than Valefor, mostly because it has an elemental weakness I can target. And while Yuna's damage still isn't great, it is better. Ifrit also doesn't target my character's MP, which I very much prefer because it means Pain can just spam healing until Yuna takes out all of Ifrit's health. Easy peasy. which means there's only one Dark Aeon left to complete this section of the game, and that is Dark Ixion, and Dark Ixion is always a question mark on whether it will be difficult. Good news, it has an elemental weakness. Better news, Yuna learned half MP, which means everyone is now casting spells at half cost, since she was the last to learn it, which is very nice. Ixion has some pretty strong attacks, dealing heavy percentage damage, and just heavy damage in general. Ow, Thor's hammer is no joke. It is very good that Pain's healing abilities have continued to scale effectively throughout the game, which I really was not expecting. I fully thought HP Flurry would never improve and become basically worthless, but it's actually quite good. Yuna can deal water damage, Pain can heal, and Riku has spent a lot of MP just buffing Yuna's attack and defense via cheer, so now it's a hit X until the boss dies situation, more or less. Why does Ixion have so much more HP than Ifrit when you would generally fight one right after the other? Sure, give me a Soul of Thamasa for free, rub it in my face. Anyway, Yuna falls into the far plane, story happens, Yuna's back on the ship, and we have arrived in Chapter 4. As usual, first stop on the list is back in the engine room for free items, then to the roof to chat with Pain about whatever it is we're talking about, then we need to get ready for a concert. Oh, Comsphere's right. Now we need to get ready for a concert. I don't know how this minigame's supposed to work, I spam buttons, I beat the required score by absurd amounts. This gives me the Smooth Sailing, which has Super Ribbon. Can't use it effectively until I get Auto Haste, but that will be quite soon. And before we can watch a concert, which will probably end up being a green screen, we need to dispatch a fiend, specifically the Salamander. And this thing is kinda scary. Its physical attacks are very strong, its breath attack hits all targets, and its tail swipe can take out the entire party very quickly. Fortunately, the boss is vulnerable to eject, so I can just spam Carrier Flurry and... this doesn't seem to be working, meaning this is either not eject, which seems unlikely, or the chance of it hitting is just stupidly low. And with how much damage this boss can deal, trying this over and over again seems not ideal from a time perspective. So I think it's time to do some grinding to get ready to fight this boss properly, which is annoying, but it'll have to do. Alright, some experience gained, and it's back into the fight, and I've swapped out the Vanguard Garment Grid for Heart of Flame. This will let me absorb fire damage from the breath attack. This was a low priority when I was just going to eject the boss, but now it's kind of essential. Otherwise, my strategy is about the same. This boss attacks very quickly, so Pain needs to heal constantly. Meanwhile, Yuna needs to attack constantly. This leaves Riku to fill in the gaps, which is to say, mostly just add some extra healing when needed, or buff Yuna's attack and defense. The more damage Yuna deals, the less the rest of the party needs to live. And honestly, fighting the fight legitimately was easier than I expected. Okay, moving on. Then the concert, which we get to skip, and it's into Chapter 5, to the engine room. And now to look at the walkthrough and see what all I want to do before starting the final sequence. First, it's down to Besaid. Lulu had her baby, but I'm actually here to do some matchmaking. Then it's over to Kilika to steal some more items and continue my matchmaking, and grab a Mega Potion and a Mega Elixir. You can never have too many healing items. Down in Luca, there's time for even more matchmaking, and that's enough matchmaking to head down to the Calmlands and grab the Speed Bracer for Auto Haste. Now I can equip the Super Ribbon on Pain. Okay, time to do some more grinding. And now it's time to dive into the nonsense that is the final sequence of fights, which is essentially a boss rush. And first on that list is Shiva. I equipped a Kinesis badge to Yuna to prevent stop. This does nothing for Shiva's MP drain, but at least means I don't have to worry about Yuna being incapacitated. I have finally learned all abilities on all characters, meaning I have access to the strongest trainer attack, Pound. And no, it doesn't actually deal any more damage than Kogoro Blaze, and seems to be a bit inconsistent, so it's debatable whether it will be useful at all. Shiva's at least a good opportunity to test it. She doesn't actually deal that much damage, and since my entire party is immune to stop, she's not actually that scary. She does have an annoyingly high evasion stat though, so it takes a lot more attacks to drop her than it really should have. The fight was always going to work out in my favor though. Actually Pound feels like the sort of ability that can't miss. Not sure if that's true, but it didn't. And now it's time for the worst fight in the game, the Mega Sisters. This boss is awful. Riku needs to switch over to the Shining Mirror Garment Grid. This will give me easy access to Reflect, which is essential. My priority here is to take out Mindy ASAP, and I start the fight off, like all great people do, by timing my spells wrong. Yeah, I should have just cast Reflect and then Hastega, so I have now made the Mega Sisters considerably stronger. I should really just reset, but there is a part of me that is just really stubborn, and while this fight is going really badly, and gets so close to death I can taste it, I do manage to recover. Now this still isn't an easy fight. Mindy is frail, but all of the sisters can deal really high damage. Reflect also isn't permanent and needs to be refreshed, which takes time to do. Also, I don't have Dispel tonics. and don't have any way to get them, which makes Mighty Guard unfortunate. Wait, did Mindy just go down? Hard to see because the camera in this game is bad, but yeah, Mindy dropped. Okay, then we should be good. My damage is still completely awful, and haste doesn't seem to expire in this game because Sandy and Cindy are still hasted, but I'm actually making this work. Imagine how easy this fight would be if I were less incompetent. Reflect and then Hastega, you moron. Oh good lord, I didn't even send Yuna through the gates to boost her physical strength. I should lose this fight. I don't deserve to win here. And yet I do. Okay, fine. Next boss up is Anima, and this is a much more manageable fight, in no small part because there is only one target. Also, I can use light curtains to reduce a lot of the damage. And the best news is that Anima is weak to Holy, so Yuna can use Holy Kogoro to deal pretty good damage. Anima does slowly weaken the party as the fight goes on, but Riku spends basically the whole fight buffing Yuna's attack and defense to the maximum level, when she isn't curing Yuna of all the statuses she keeps getting inflicted with. This is a very quick fight that is not particularly difficult. Then it's a piano puzzle. Thank you, Mega Elixir, for making me feel better. Then it's another piano puzzle. I hate this area so much. I will defend a lot about this game. I will not defend this. It's just kind of awful. Alright, this is it. Vegnagun time. And first up is the tail. This phase only has 2 attacks, a swipe that deals 1,250 damage, and a laser that deals about a third of the target's maximum HP. HP Flurry is more than enough to heal both of these, so Riku can spam Cheer to boost Yuna's stats, and Yuna can spam Pound to deal damage. That damage isn't actually that great. Let's see what Holy Kogoro deals. Why is that more? Okay, the first hit was crit, but even subsequent hits deal more damage. What is the damage formula on Pound? It's clearly not very useful. This boss isn't even weak to Holy. Oh well, I guess whatever does the most damage will work. First fight down. Next up is the leg. First thing I need to do is cast Reflect. The nodes love to spam magical attacks at the party, and while the bounced magic doesn't deal damage, it at least doesn't hurt me. The leg is taking what, 1,500 or more damage? Not bad. I do have to hit through the occasional heal, which isn't ideal, but that should be more than manageable. Oh, that stomp just one-shot the whole party, That's, okay, let's go ahead and do that again. With Yuna just doing attacks, would it make sense to give her Fury Shock so she can berserk herself? The damage is definitely less than Holy Kogoro, but she does seem to be hitting faster. Oh, it's dead. Okay, berserk was the answer. 3 bosses left, next up is the core. Let's start with the normal garment switching, and then berserk. Yeah, I don't think this is good. The damage is really low, and the additional problem is the bulwarks counter everything I do in ways that are really quite rude, actually. I don't really have the damage to win this fight very quickly, and that could be a problem. Honestly, not as much for this fight. The healing items I have would almost certainly keep me alive, healed, and full of MP. The real problem is the next fight is considerably harder, and has a time limit. Okay, we're done. This is not winnable at this stage, so we wait and let ourselves die, which takes a surprising long time, actually. So what I need is strength on Yuna, and there are places to achieve this. Many of them are out of my reach because of decisions I made or didn't make earlier in the run, but there are still a few things I can do. First up is to defeat the experiment in the Josei Temple. This fight is a nothing fight because Pain can out-heal its damage and I can just spam attacks. Beating that lets me run past it into the Chamber of Faith and pick up a Hyper Wrist for plus 30 strength. Then down to the Thunder Plains. Ejecting the monster by the 4th tower gets me a Power Wrist for plus 20 strength. If I thought to calibrate this tower a bunch of times in Chapter 3, the item would be better, but I didn't, so that is what we're stuck with. Okay, some considerable strength boosts acquired. Let's see if that's enough or I need to acquire more strength. Hopefully not, because better accessories or garment grids would require a lot more work at this point. So let's see what we're working with. Over 2k damage. Okay, that's actually quite good. Not the best I've seen, but that is nearly enough to one-shot a bulwark. Combined with a little help from another character, and I can keep the bulwarks weakened for most of the fight. This may actually be doable now. The timing is a bit awkward, but if I time Riku's attack correctly, I can also get a combo boost, which should raise Yuna's damage even more. Yeah, that's over 3k. Okay, this should be very doable now. Ooh, a 6k crit is beautiful. Okay, this is winnable, and with that damage, the next fight should also be winnable. Yuna, please don't die. Okay, that is the core defeated, and that means only 2 bosses remain. And the head is the most dangerous boss by a decent margin, so it's time to break out all the stops. That means curtains, that means stamina tablets to double Riku and Pain's HP. If I had 3, I would use the 3rd on Yuna, but alas, I only have 2, and it's more important my support characters stay alive. As in the core phase, Yuna can 1 or 2 shot the bulwarks, which is very good. However, unlike the prior fight, she will not be doing that after the first phase. The bulwarks are a pain, but they don't counterattack, so they are not mandatory. And as I said earlier, this fight is on a time limit. I don't actually know what it is, but I have reached that time limit in prior runs, so there is no messing around here. The good news is that in addition to Riku and Pain having doubled HP, I have dozens of curtains, 4 Mega Elixirs, 6 Mega Potions, and just so many Ethers and Turbo Ethers. As long as I don't actually get a full party wipe, I should be good. Which is unlikely with Riku and Pain being super tanky and immune to status effects. This fight should just be a matter of time, scary time. Despite all the resources I'm burning, my damage is just okay enough that this still takes a while to win the fight. But I have a lot of resources to call upon. Thank goodness HP Flurry scales so well. Seriously, I have no idea why it's still healing this much HP at endgame. And with the head defeated, all that remains is Shuyin himself. And this fight is a formality. Shuyin is not dangerous, really at all. He does have Terror of Xanarkand, which will always one-shot a character, but he only uses it once every 8 turns, leaving plenty of time to heal the character back to full HP. And the rest of his attacks deal basically no damage. And that was Final Fantasy X-2, beaten with only trainers, and that was really fun. I was unsure how well trainers would hold up in X-2, given how many bad things I'd heard about them. Trainer really suffers from being a jack of all trades in a game where you shouldn't have that, but when it has to stand alone as your only dress sphere, it actually is really, really good. Shockingly good, in fact. I did want to shout out that I do have a Patreon, linked in the description. I spend a lot of time making these videos, so if you enjoyed the video, want to support the channel, and are financially stable enough to do so, that exists. No pressure though, this channel is free to enjoy for everyone, and will remain that way. For now, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you'd like to see more of this, feel free to subscribe. Hey, maybe leave a comment if you have something you'd like to say. But whatever you decide to do, have a safe trip home.